Well, it didn't take long to do just a moniker of digging through medical literature to start finding published literature that shows that masks don't do anything except make the person who wears them sick. They were never designed to stop transmission, never designed to protect anything. And then the argument became, well, what about surgeons? Well, if you read the history of masks and surgery, it's because when surgeons are doing surgery, they're looking down the whole time. They're not out here looking at people. They're looking down at their surgical field and they're asking for instruments and that. And when they're speaking, because they want a scalpel or whatever, the mask was intended to stop spittle from going into the open surgical wound. I mean, and that was all it was intended for. And then, you just read more and more about what was the hit. So, and I really like history. I spend most of my time, well, not most of my time, but almost every presentation that I do, I have some nugget from history there, because if we don't know from where we came, we will repeat the lessons over again. And so when you start looking back historically, where did they use masks? It was in the the conquerors put masks on their people that were conquered, their slaves, to keep them from talking. And also that represented, to the world, everybody who saw them, that they were a slave because they had on this mask. And so the combination of the lack of medical efficacy, I mean, I would say to people, you wear that dirty thing all day long. I mean, some of the people that would wear them for forever, they were filthy dirty. And it's just like spitting on your face, in your hand, and rubbing it on your face all day long. I mean, just spit in it and rub it on your face. So I tried to give really gross examples so people would get what they're doing, because that's exactly what was happening. And that these people would wear the same mask forever until it literally fell apart. And one day, the only time I ever wore a mask was the few times during that period of time that I had to fly on an airplane, because they were militant about it, and particularly on United, and that's usually who I fly. They were militant about the mask. And one day by accident, as soon as I got out of the airplane, I ripped it off and stuck it in my pocket. And I usually wore like a sweatsuit, when I travel on the planes. I put it in my pocket and I threw the sweatpants in the washer, and the mask came out lovely. It was clean and it was washed and it didn't fall apart. And I thought, I wonder how many times you can wash this before it starts to fall apart. It was after about the 10th time it ran through the washing machine cycle that the edges started to get frayed and it started to fall apart. Then I thought about, like, on a global perspective, that I had read somewhere that we were putting something like 3 billion masks into the environment. Where's all the environmentalists when you need them? I mean, why weren't they saying you can wash these things? You don't have to throw them in the yard in the garbage. Really, P.S., you don't need to wear them at all. But if you're going to wear them, wear a clean one. And those blue ones, these were blue surgical masks right out of a box. You can wash them. So it's cut down on the environmental pollution. But not a word was said about that. And I'll tell you, there was plenty of times when I got on airplanes, I wanted to go up to the front. And after the little flight attendant does their whole little thing about sit down and flash your seatbelts, I wanted to say, give me that microphone. I want to tell these people on here to wash their masks and not throw them in the garbage.
That would have